I've got this SLX50 in for service. It has a fabricated 50-inch deck and it has the fast attach blades on it. So we're gonna put these fast attach blades on, which usually when you change blades you have to get an impact gun or at least a block of wood and a big cheetah bar because they stick on there pretty well. This has the Kawasaki motor in it, which is not available anymore. Now they come with the Kohler, which is a good reliable engine, but they're really loud and they don't run quite as nice as these do. So this right here is also a Cub Cadet lift that we're going to use to pick the front of the tractor up to get at the deck to change the blades, so you don't have to take the whole deck off anymore just to change blades on your tractor. So I'll go ahead and start it up, drive on this, and then we'll lift it up and see what's going on under there as far as the blades go. You always want to make sure you set the brake. I think I got this tractor lift at Tractor Supply a few years ago. The only thing that kind of stinks is just the way it's set up. If you've got the grill guard on here, the bumper, you don't really get to push this back as far as you need to get optimum. So it takes a little longer because you don't have the clearance to fully extend. And so with the wheels on it, what it does, as it's raising, it'll pull the wheels in towards the tractor. This did come with some straps to put on over the tires when I got it. Like anything or everything, it always works great when it's brand new, but this tractor is a few years old. These blades have never been off, and I know they've hit everything but the lottery with this tractor. Mowing, rocks, everything else. So you're supposed to be able to just lift this collar up right here, and push that collar up, which it almost goes, and then you spin the blade, and it's supposed to come off. But you can see that that's really not happening because you can't quite get it up far enough. So it's got some kind of gunk or something in there. Now, I was an engineer in the military, so I know what it's like to build something that works great in a lab, and then when it goes out to the field, things happen that you didn't plan on. So I get it. But this is supposed to just spin over. So, but not quite, no cigar. Alright, so what do we do? And what I've seen a lot of people do is they don't look at how they took their blade off, and then they put the new blades on, and the mower doesn't work. And so they're not designed to cut upside down. They only go one way. So it's supposed to go like this. It turns like this right here. So this is a high lift blade. So what it's doing is it's kicking the grass up here and then out the blower, as opposed to a mulching blade, which is kind of the opposite. It throws it onto the ground. So and most people, they don't clean underneath their decks, and then within a short period of time the deck is all rotted out. And I can see this one's on its way there, every one of the lips. So you've got these lips on your deck if you have a bagging system, so the vacuum works right, and they always get trapped up in behind there and all around the spindles. So basically with the deck wash system, you either use them or you don't. You have to use them like immediately after you mow the lawn. So you mow your lawn and then you put them on. You can't wait until it turns to cement. So let's take that like that, and then like I said, it's in theory it's a great idea, but in practice not so much. So what's supposed to happen is you push that collar up and then you twist the blade like this to lock it in, but it's not working. You want to avoid using oil because that's just going to attract more dirt. So we'll try some Teflon. Hopefully that'll work that loose. It's also easy when you're struggling to get something on to have the blade flip over, and then you unknowingly put it on upside down after you've gone through all that trouble. So when you can see on this right here, I'll turn this so you can see it. There's this little piton right here that comes down, and that latches in here. So when it's on right, it has turned. So you have to get that up, and you have to be able to slide. So there's your problem right there, is trying to get that to turn. So in addition to this guy right here, there's one inside here, and inside here. So when that is pushed up, the blade goes in, and you have to push it up enough so that these little pinions right here are recessed in this, and that's how you're able to turn the blade. But if you don't get it up there far enough, you're not gonna get that to spin. Looks like you need an extra hand. You don't want to bang on that, because then you'll screw everything up. Because this is your cutting edge here. So we're not quite there, but we're almost. And there. And we've got that blade on. Like I said, the middle one's not going to be quite so much fun because you can't really get to it very, very well. So I'll go ahead and switch these other two, and then we'll come back and take a look. So I don't know if the camera picks it up, but you can see all this crap is all building up, and the deck is getting rusty. So this deck won't have but a few years left, and then it'll be all rotted out. The fabricated decks are nice. They're reinforced. You can see there's this welded on steel all the way around, and that's really nice because it's not just like this 14 gauge steel. It's like double built. So when you hit a rock or a stump or something, you don't end up caving part of your deck in, and then the blade hits it and either breaks the spindle, cuts a hole through the mower deck with the blade, or a whole host of things can go wrong. So I do like these fabricated decks. I think they're really nice. I think I mentioned it before. It's a good sized tractor, and it's a XT2, but I mean, sorry, it only has the K46 transmission in it, the Kanzaki Tough Torque K46, which is really a lightweight transmission, and it used to be one of the lightest weight transmissions, but now they come out with these even lighter ones that are in like the John Deere cheap tractors, like the E-Series, I guess they're up to now. They're really cheap and they don't last, so they're calling this K46 a heavy-duty transmission, which is laughable. The K58 is like your first Tough Torque transmission that is rated for garden tractor use, but they're still not serviceable, so you need like a K72 or something like that, I think it is. So again, this is a Specialist dry lube with Teflon in it, and I really like this because, like I said before, it's not petroleum as far as like, like the regular lubricants. They don't collect dirt, because the worst thing you want to do is put more dirt in here. So you can see this blade right here. You can see that's all gouged. Same here. It's destroyed, and then the back part here is all chewed up. So these blades are garbage. You can't even sharpen them because the edge is gone. So again, make sure you put this on right. So if you were to put it on like this, which you'd think it would be right because the sticker's there, but it's not. It's absolutely upside down. It has to go this way. So I guess the way to look at it is it's a high lift blade, so you have to, the not sharp side is heading up, so lift up. Because there's nothing that stinks worse. Well, I mean, there are things that stink worse, but it's pretty high up there on the stink list to put your blades on, put the tractor down, and then shazam, you can't mow, so you have to go repeat, do it all over again. So I don't want to hit on the sharp side. You saw that collar drop down, and there's your tab in there, so we're all connected. Here's the blades. So we can put this tractor down now and do the rest of the service. To drop this down, you have to turn this off. There's a little slot on here, because what happens, it puts pressure on it, and then it doesn't come off very well. So you turn this a little bit. You can see that comes down. Now, the way this is supposed to work is you're supposed to pump it a couple times, and then you put this for a release, but I'm guessing because it's been a little while. And then to get it off, you just start the tractor up, back it up, and then pull this back out. I know these tractors come brand new. There's a little hose that goes on here that you put on, and it puts the oil down here, but customers never bring those in to you, so I'm probably going to end up just picking one up. See it? Unhook this little cap here, and then the way this works is that you pull it out and turn it. I'll probably need pliers for that. So once you pull that out, it opens the valve. And you're going to get some oil on the side, no matter what you do. Unless you have that little adapter that would hook on here. This here is an oil filter wrench, and you can get these anywhere. This one came from the John Deere dealer. It's not marked John Deere, they just had it there. I think Home Depot has them, probably Lowe's too. But they fit on the edge like that. And depending upon what you have for a tractor, you may or may not need an extension, but it's 3/8. So then to put the new oil in, you just do the exact opposite. Push that in, put the cover on. This is 1040, I believe. Yeah, 1040. It's a Kawasaki motor. I put Kawasaki oil in it. I put Kawasaki parts on it. I always put whatever manufacturer's parts in the tractor. So like my Cub Cadet is a Kohler, so I put all Kohler parts on it. You know, the other John Deere is Kawasaki, so I put Kawasaki parts on it. A lot of people will save a couple dollars and buy some unnamed Amazon that are Chinese, and you could do that and save a few dollars. But I have qualms about putting no-name parts on machines that you spend a lot of money on just to save a couple bucks. So that's just me. I like to put the quality parts back on. Whatever it came with is what I put back on, but that's just how I am. So the new filter's on. You saw I put some oil on the seal. Make sure you clean your funnel before you stick it in there. So this will take at least a quart, probably 1 3/4, but we'll start with 1. You can always add more easier, then you can take some out. And you don't want to take a wrench to your oil filter because it'll tighten up on its own, and if you wrench it, you might have some trouble later on, so we won't do that. But I'll need this. This is going to be our air filter. We'll do that last, but we'll go around the other side and do the fuel filter next. So the fuel filter, usually it fills this little bowl up and then it goes back into there. So if you have a fuel line shut off in line, you go ahead and shut it off, but if you don't, just take a pair of vice grips and stick that on. That'll clamp the fuel off. And then you just need to remove the filter. You'll have some residual fuel in there, so have a rag handy. So when you change the oil in these, you always put just a little bit more than the full line. So I had it, when I filled it was like right on the F on full. And then when you start it, run it for a second, it fills up the oil filter. So then when you check it again, you're right pretty much where you want to be, which is right there, just below the full line. So that's all in good shape. But these don't have really much for grease fittings on them. There's no grease fitting anywhere up here. There's one right in behind here on the spindle. I'll show you in a second. They don't have grease fittings on the hubs because they're plastic hubs in there, I'm pretty sure. So on the plus side with this tractor, it's got the turf tracks on them, Turf Masters. These are the really nice tires. They're round shouldered, they're kind of soft, and they ride better. They don't tend to wreck your lawn as much, but they are a pricier tire. So these are a premium tire. This has just a bull pinion gear on the steering. So you can see down in there, the shaft come down right here, and it's got a half moon with gears on it. So that gets full of dirt, eventually wears out, and it's garbo. There's no lubrication anywhere on this. I used to always put some sort of oil or grease on it to kind of preserve it. This is pot metal, and that's pot metal. But if you put grease in there, it attracts the dirt, so it actually prematurely wears it out, so you don't really want to grease it. This is Teflon, which, I mean, it doesn't do a whole lot, but it's better than nothing in my mind. It's kind of neat. It has a little hinge on there, so you can pop that right out. So this comes out. Sometimes you can just bang these out and vacuum them. You don't want to blow air through it, you blow air out of it. This one has the pre-filter already on it. Some people will soak these with oil. It doesn't really help a lot. The oil, it's kind of hard to impregnate that with all the oil, but the idea behind it is the oil will help trap more dust. So we'll set that in, close that, and that's it. All right, so the last thing we have, the spark plugs, and I usually put NGKs in. I think they're a really good spark plug. Some people like Champions or Autolites or whatever, but NGK, very reliable, good spark. So the first thing you need to do, and because this is a vertical shaft engine, you're going to have your spark plugs on opposing sides here on the front. And sometimes, like with my John Deere, you have to kind of take the hood off to get to them, but this one, you can access it without taking the hood off. This tractor is 3 years old and hasn't had new plugs put in it, and it still runs okay, but we're doing this mostly for the sake of showing you how to do it. It's pretty easy. So these were NGK type R's that were in it, and you can see there's a little bit of carbon on there, but it's not too bad. It's been fired incorrectly. So BPR4ES, so Bravo Papa Romeo 4 Echo Sierra is what goes in here. So here's our new plugs. So if you don't know what you had, make sure you always check to make sure that this part right here is the same. Like if you've got a shorter amount of thread on it, then it won't fire right. So you want to make sure you put the same thing back in. And they always come out easier than they go in for the most part. What you got to be careful of when you put these back in is not to cross thread it, which is really easy to do. And it's not like you can see really well in there. So you want to hand tighten it. You don't want to use a tool to tighten it up, because that increases your chances of cross-threading it. So if it goes hard, back it out. And I usually, when I'm putting something in like that, I go like I'm unscrewing it to seat the threads. So you stick it in and kind of go lefty-loosey a little bit. It should seat the threads, and then you can go ahead and righty-tighty. So we'll tighten that up, hand tight. And then once you've got it hand tight, you take your wrench and go back on. And you're not going to crank this down, you're just going to make it snug. So they usually say around 100 hours to change the plugs. This one's got 119, I think, on it. So it's due. These boots come off a little hard sometimes. Go ahead and take it off. All right, we'll go ahead and give this a TRY. I think I'll call that a win for today, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.